I am currently stood beside the Five Arches Viaduct in Sheffield, also known as the Wardsend Viaduct. But had I been stood here in the decades immediately after it was opened, I would have been presented with a very different sight to this busy main road we're standing on today. The Five Arches Viaduct in Sheffield was opened in 1845 as part of the Sheffield, Ashton-under-Lyne and Manchester Railway. In this video we're going to have an exploration of the area surrounding the viaduct. We're going to look at the history of the viaduct, including some radical changes that took place around 100 years ago. And we're going to reflect on some unfortunate incidents that have taken place on this notable part of Sheffield's landscape. Now I've managed to find an account of the first ever journey across this viaduct in July 1845. We are told that the line passed over a road at Wardsend by a viaduct of 5 arches 80 feet high, and on the right station rises a slope to the height of 110 feet above the line, crowned by the verdant wood, while on the other side is a fall of 20 feet, at the foot of which roll the waters of the River Don. The report also noted wonderful views of Wardsend, of Stannington, Hillsborough and Allerton. First up, I went exploring on the western side of the arches. So yes, a very different scene here from those first decades of the Five Arches Viaduct when this was all open countryside. Very pastoral scenes from those old photographs I've managed to find. And now we have this. So very steep embankments up the side here where the line used to run to my left. This 2-mile section of the line was constructed under the contracts of, I believe, Messrs Buxton and Clark of Sheffield. They were also responsible for building the Dinton Viaduct further along the Woodhead line on the other side of the tunnels. I think they were also responsible for part of the Manchester and Birmingham Railway. I think there's some records exist in the Cheshire archives about that. So very well respected and very well known railway contractors built this section of line, including the Five Arches Viaduct. So we have down here Toad Hole Dyke, which ran just beneath the Five Arches Viaduct. So this little culvert under Herries Road would once have been feeding Rawson's Bank Mill. And it was dammed off on the other side of the road to form what's now called Oxspring Dam, which we'll try and have a look at. It is now a private fishing lake, and there was a tree bark grinding mill on the opposite side of the road where those houses now are. Today these two cottages on the opposite side of Herries Road look like they're in some sort of dip or gully in the ground, and there's a very good reason for that, because Herries Road didn't exist until about 100 years ago. The arches we see today are considerably shorter than the ones that were originally built. The original ones were 80 feet in height as per that newspaper description of the first journey on the line. I'm not quite sure how much they rise up above us today. Perhaps somebody could let me know in the comments below. What is now Herries Road was opened in 1925 to form a Sheffield outer ring road, and as you can see from these photographs, it involved quite a lot of raising of the land, so the road had a smoother gradient. But it also meant that part of the lower part of the arches was submerged under the earthworks of the new road. Can anyone think of any other examples of viaducts that have in effect shrunk over the years? Please drop a comment below, because I'm sure our viewers will be interested to see if there are further examples. At this point in the video, we'd like to ask a little favour. If you are registered on YouTube and can press that like button, it will really help us get our videos noticed. We're a new history channel and growing. And also, if you are registered on YouTube and would like to subscribe to our channel, it's absolutely free, and we're producing lots of railway and other running content on a regular basis. So now we're going to have a think about some of the sadder and happier times people have experienced around the Five Arches Viaduct in Sheffield. I love this engraving of the Hillsborough area in, I think, the 1860s. You can see the barracks in the foreground, and if you look very closely in the background, you can see the Five Arches Viaduct depicted with a train going over it. However, sadly, one of the soldiers based at those barracks from the 105th Regiment was reported to have climbed the viaduct and thrown himself to his death in 1879. Sadly, search through contemporary newspapers revealed many stories of such deaths, but one remarkable story from 1925 involved a young lady who fell from the full height of the viaduct but suffered nothing more than concussion and lived to a ripe old age. I traced her life through various websites. On a more uplifting note, thousands of Sheffielders passing under the viaduct will have read the legend Denise and Tony and Joanne and Boncho. Does anybody have any idea who Denise, Tony, Joanne or Boncho were or indeed are? Let me know in the comments below, and if you are eagle-eyed today you will see that Joanne and Boncho are still commemorated on the Five Arches Viaduct. So though the Woodhead line was closed to passenger traffic in 1970, it was still used for the occasional passengers, football specials from Sheffield up to the nearby Wardsend Bridge station right up until the late 1990s. Does anybody watching remember catching football specials over this viaduct? Next up, I was allowed a quick peek at the Oxspring Dam, also known as Wardsend Dam, which sits right under the viaduct, now used for fishing, but I believe it was here before the Five Arches Viaduct was open, so they had to circumnavigate it. We're now going to take an explore through Scraith Woods to my right and see how close we can get to the top of the viaduct. So after that long distance drone footage, we're now attempting a different angle to get some views of the viaduct. We're going through Scraith Wood, which was here at the time the viaduct was built, to see if there are any views through the trees of the viaduct slightly higher up. So walking through the woods, I thought I'd share this lovely picture of the opening of the Tetley's distribution centre in nearby Wardsend. If you look closely, they also depicted the Five Arches. We can just see the railway track through the trees there. It isn't used very frequently if at all, but there is a line still down that runs from Sheffield out to Stockbridge Steelworks. There has been talk about reopening it at various points, but it's come to nothing as yet. Well, that was worth the walk through the woods anyway. We are now at the top of the Five Arches Viaduct, which has been here since the summer of 1845. Not quite sure the quality of the path going down there. I'll have a go. So I think we're as close as we're legally going to get to the Five Arches Viaduct, so just enjoy the sight along here. I think we've got a few old concrete posts here marking out the boundary of where the railway company didn't want you to get close enough to the fence behind me. Now long degraded in the 4.5 decades since this line finally closed, except for goods traffic to Stockbridge occasionally. And that was the end of my attempt to get any further down on this path. But a real thrill to be so close to 170 years of railway history. There is the occasional train still goes along here, and this beautiful photograph by Melv Kirkham from 2017 I think, or 2018, shows the viaduct in use. Couldn't leave that one. What a beautiful photograph I wanted to share with you all. Thanks Melv. Well, I think the effort to get up here and see the top of the viaduct deserves a like, so please give us one. And if you're new here, we'd love you to subscribe. We do lots of history walks, many of them based on old railways, but others based on other topics of historical interest too. We get around the country quite a lot, and we think we've got quite a lot of variety to bring you as a subscriber. And of course, it's absolutely free to subscribe. So I hope you can join us next time, where every journey begins with a path to the past.